I'm Robin Miller-Brecker.
And I'm Karen Lenzer. Welcome to Seeking Center, the podcast.
Join us each week as we have the conversations and weed through the spiritual and holistic clutter for you. We'll boil it down to what you need to know now.
We're all about total wellness, which to us means building a healthy life on a physical, mental, and spiritual level. We'll talk to the trailblazers who will introduce you to the practices, products, and experiences that may be just what you need to hear about to transform your life.
If you're listening to this, it's no accident. Think of this as your seeking center and your place to seek your center. And for even more mega inspo, sign up for Seeking Center, the newsletter at seekingcenter.app. We're honored and excited to introduce you to Gina Nicole, a spiritual mentor, intuitive, and both an energy healing and Feng Shui practitioner. Gina works with empaths, heart-centered entrepreneurs, and business owners struggling with some form of discord or apprehension on their journey to activate their innate ability. She believes when you learn how to manage the divine connection to source energy, you can come into full alignment and live a passion-filled and purposeful life. She was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome and autoimmune at 26 years old. She was married at 27 and divorced at 28. She faced massive problems, felt no one understood her, and her body was screaming for help. To top it all off, she thought she was going crazy when she started to see angels. She was scared and turned to Feng Shui and healing arts, conquered some big fears, and overcame huge personal obstacles. Now she helps others to overcome their own fears in less than half the time it took her. If you find yourself stuck in the same place month after month, she says there's only one person who can change that. You. We had a session with Gina and we were blown away with the guidance, validation, as well as energy clearing and healing that took place. We are in awe of all that Gina has to offer and guide you through. Her knowledge, abilities, authenticity, and heart are a gift to all of us. Let's start talking. Hi, Gina.
Wow, thank you.
Oh my goodness. Can I just say that when we were coming up with that intro and we were looking and knowing all that you have under your umbrella and continue to learn and teach more and more, I mean it when we said we were in awe because there is so much.
It shows your authenticity right out of the gate because you have all of the things that you went through in your late 20s. And that was so much. That was a fire hose. Let's just be honest. At a given time in your life when you're really starting to come into your adulthood and knowing who you are. So the fact that you've been able to layer so much of your own experience into what you do, I think is why you're so great at what you do, Gina. So let's start there maybe, mid-20s, all that you were going through, and then how that became a catalyst to what you're doing today.
Yeah, thank you. It's hearing it, like, I'm like, was that my life really? When I hear it back, and it doesn't seem like that long ago. It is like this overview, but there was so much in so little time. The 20s were very hard for me. And I think partly, and I really do believe this for every single one of us, I do believe that our challenge feeds our future, and in our challenges are the gifts in all of the things. And so I really do believe that Spirit was saying, here's all of these challenges. Let's figure out how to work it out. You figure it out, and then you'll eventually maybe one day help other people to do it if you're called. So I'm really grateful for all of those things. And it's funny because through all of this, so right out of college, I graduated with my master's. I ran. I just wanted to get away. I literally shifted from working on cruise ships, and then I was working corporate for a little bit when I got married and got sick. And then I became a flight attendant, ran to overcome a fear of flying, which I think is important too, that we follow our fears. But so much of my 20s, I just wanted to run. I didn't want to be anywhere. I didn't want to be. I didn't want to be present.
Grounded, right? If you're a flight attendant, you didn't even want to be grounded.
I didn't. I think I really just didn't even. I say this not in a way because I really, mental health is so important, and suicide is a topic that I think needs so much more attention. I was never to the point where I was suicidal, but I also just didn't want to be on the earth. I didn't feel like the earth was my home. And I think so many of us can understand that. And I just, it was like, just where do I go? I couldn't couldn't find my space or my spot or anything. I just couldn't find my jam. But now looking back, I'm like, oh, I get it. That was a part of all of this. And I've learned now how to be present in the moment and how to live moment to moment with spirit. And it's such a big part of who I am and what I do. But so much of my 20s was spent just trying to flee.
And was it the pain, physical pain, and then the emotional pain that you were in that made you turn to something else, something different to help you? How did that happen?
Yeah, for sure. It's really layered. We all know it's not a perfectly linear journey. So it's really layered. And interestingly enough, looking back, I would never be able to tell you the timeline of like how it all happened because I don't remember. I think that's what the brain can sometimes do. And I did have an experience, and I don't believe that we have to have either a near-death experience or we have to have some big dramatic trauma. That's not my belief at all. But I did remember a trauma that happened when I was much younger. I was a victim of sexual abuse, and I didn't remember. It came to me one time in a therapy session, and that's where I'm like, I don't remember where that was. It was somewhere in my 20s. But I remember thinking when he said it, and my counselor, he was like pulling it out of me, and I'm like, no. And I'm like, maybe, but also there was like other kids. And he's stop. Don't downplay your trauma based on the fact that it was another kid, because kid on kid abuse is abuse, and that's traumatic. And you are having all of these symptoms of sexual abuse trauma and being molested and I was like, I am. I didn't even know. So it took a couple of deep therapy sessions. And at the same time, I was navigating polycystic ovarian syndrome. I don't know, where my ovaries sparked up because my body, you're too young to get pregnant at this age. And I believe in a mind, body, spirit, now home connection. So all of this was happening simultaneously. And I remember I was doing acupuncture, and the acupuncturist was like, what is going on? Like, your body is just not releasing. And she had mentioned something to me. She was like, maybe it's the sheets. You are too sensitive. We got to get rid of the white sheets. And I'm like, why? What does white sheets have to do with anything? And that led me to understanding that white sheets in Chinese medicine cover dead bodies traditionally. Let's bring some more energy through color. I've always loved color. And then, of course, as the universe has it, I was working a very tiring job. It was awesome. I'm so grateful. I still love her. It was a woman-owned business in the Bay Area. I have so much respect for her, but I was tired. 10-hour days were normal. I was exhausted. And within that, I met a Feng Shui practitioner, and she came to my home and we did some tweaks, and I started to heal. The acupuncture started to finally work. So then it was like, oh my gosh, what is this? What's going on? And so I dove headfirst. I left this very high paying job. I got a job working as an admin at an acupuncture college in San Francisco. And I was able to receive acupuncture, which was awesome, for very low rates. I took a huge pay cut, and I was studying at the time in San Francisco along Edgar Sung, who he studied directly under Professor Lin Yun, who is a Feng Shui master who brought BTB Feng Shui, that's the form I study, to the States. And I just had this year of miracles. And it wasn't miracles in the way where like I manifested all this money, but I finally felt at home in my body. And I say that and I get chills and my heart still expands and I could cry. Like, it was so beautiful. I started to stand up for myself for the first time. I went through a breakup with a friend that very much needed to happen. I think it was a very controlling and manipulative friendship. And I finally stood up for myself. And then that's when eventually I followed the fear of flying. So clearly I was still, maybe a part of me was still trying to run a little bit, but I'm grateful for flying because flying allowed me the opportunity to earn an income and build my practice. That's all I do. It's my full-time gig. I am grateful for that. So it was this really interesting tapestry of events that I really don't remember how it all happened.
What's interesting in your story, there's a lot that's interesting. And what I would say is that, for instance, in my spiritual world, it definitely started mostly when I started working for Oprah and meeting all these people that came through the door. But several of my real awakenings and openings came from one when I worked with Eckhart Tolle and he helped me open up in a certain way that I hadn't. But then it was for me working with a medium that really opened the door to all of these other modalities that I had never heard of, never thought about energy in that way. And so for you, it seems, yes, you were doing acupuncture, but it was Feng Shui that really opened up this door for you.
I was just going to add to that, because what I was thinking when Gina was talking was this idea of her being on cruise ships in the air, trying to escape the earth, really, right? And it feels like what everything did, all the experiences that you had leading back to the home and Feng Shui.
Oh, yeah.
Bringing you back to earth again, where you were really finally ready to do what you were intended to do. So that's just what
That's really cool.
Yeah. And I always say it's a mind, body, spirit, and home connection, because it is true. It led me home in so many ways. And I will say, Robin, thank you for asking that, because I meant, like, again, there's so many things that my brain, it's so many layers. But I was also working with, yes, I had acupuncture, but I was like, throw the kitchen sink in. I don't care. I'm going to try it. I was also working with one of my very first mentors who trained me in Terra May level 1 Reiki. Like, she does healing touch, Margie Ford. And I'm really thankful for her. She's been a teacher in so many ways. And we go through our seasons of working with people, but she was doing healing touch. That was another aspect. And I remember her saying, because she is very intuitive, and I remember her saying to me, you will do something with Feng Shui and all these things one day. And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm not going to do it. I'm just trying to do this. I'm not going to do it. And she did say that. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And she's okay. And I did. So I was working with her. And I also did see a medium who did the same thing. And she became my mediumship teacher when I was learning mediumship, Leanne Thomas of Angelic Hope. So I did have a lot of teachers along the way. I think it's part of why I mentor now, because I would not be where I am with dipping my toe into all of these things. To your point, again, I could not tell you like what was where.
I think it's once you see the validation and you see what's working in any aspect, then you're like, what else? What else is there? Which is that whole seeking journey, right? That's the thing. It's one thing leads to another, because all of a sudden you're open and you see how it can bring joy into your life. It can bring healing into your life. That makes so much sense to me. And the fact that you were calling it your year of miracles, because it was like, oh, there's more out there than I realized.
And Gina, I have to ask about Feng Shui in general, because I find it fascinating. I don't know a lot about it. We've had some people come and talk to us about it, but from your particular journey, since that's exactly where you were, you finally came home. What was it about Feng Shui that was so meaningful to you, and how did it impact your health?
And what is it for people who don't know?
Yeah, it's a great question. Because there's Vastu, there's different schools of Feng Shui. I always say you cannot practice Feng Shui wrong. The only thing I would never recommend doing is mixing different schools. For example, people think of Feng Shui and they think compass and north, south, east, west. I don't care what way your door faces. I practice something called BTB Feng Shui, and that's where we use a Bagua map. And you place this beautiful Bagua map over your home, and the different rooms are divided into the different sectors. They connect to the different areas of your life. And it was very interesting because like my toilet was in health. My closet was in health.
Wow.
In that. And for me, that's when I started to apply those tools and my body really started to heal. I was like, this is crazy. There is something to this. And then I just kept doing it. So the term translates to wind water. And that's how I like to always explain it to people. So just as the wind moves water, that we can use furniture and color, because everything is energy, and we can use all of the different frequencies to magnetize and manipulate in a healthy way how energy is moving through our home and through our life. And then it was also, I was really fascinated with Feng Shui for health, because each part of the Bagua map links to a different body part. And
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. So if I have a client that I'm just recently working with who's going through some things with their eyes. And so we went to the sector of the Bagua map where the eyes are linked to the home, and really started to work in that area. And he had some cracked windows and windows that were dirty, and eyes and windows, all of these things. It was dirty. It was cluttered. There was closets that I'm like, yes, of course it's important to still work with your doctors, but just like your mind and your body are connected, your home is also in the mix of this. There's just no way that it can't be, like in my eyes, literally. So I've always, when I was manifesting a job for when I decided I wanted to fly, because that would be the best thing, I did my whole career sector, taking all that I knew, and I put airplanes and I did all of the things, and I got the job, and it didn't take long. It was like, of course that happened. And it was a process that really, for me, I think with relationships, it's been huge. Going through, it's funny, the stories that we tell ourselves. And I think through my divorce and my first marriage, I had a lot of stories I was telling myself. And applying Feng Shui to my home really helped me to see these goggles that I was wearing and how everything was not the truth. And we have reached so much forgiveness. And I owe so much of that just to the art and giving me rituals to practice and joining it with forgiveness rituals. And it was just the gift that kept giving when it came to relationships. And then with my husband now, once I decided, okay, I'm ready to meet my person, I was going through a second program at the New York Institute of Art and Design because I do love beauty. I love beautiful things. So I did want to learn how to raise the frequency with that too. And I was like, I'm ready to manifest love. I literally did my bedroom for that project and I met him 3 weeks later.
Wow.
I'm not saying those are normal results either. I'm not like going to lead everybody. Sometimes it takes, but I don't know.
It worked for you.
And there could be some people asking you some questions.
Yes, that is so true. And going back to even what you said about the white sheet. So then would you say that most of us, we shouldn't have white sheets in our bedroom?
It's a rule of thumb I go by. If I see a client that has white sheets that's having health things and they're not healing, I'm like, dude, just give it a chance. Give it a shot. Generally speaking, in the bedroom, it's really good to have skin colors and skin because the bedroom is for rest and love and intimacy. Yeah, use skin tone colors. Teddy bear colors are good for the bedroom, soft pinks. And I think that's important too, because look, if you have somebody that really loves white and they're like, oh, but it feels good to my frequency, fine, then you do you and do something else. Let's figure it out. Let's find a different workaround because that feeds your frequency. And I'm all about that too. My family and I just recently moved and I have no check with me in a year, but we literally bought a home that has a bunch of Feng Shui no-nos. And I was delighted about it because I want to set out on this path to really not prove it wrong, but prove that anything's workable and not make it this fear-based thing because everybody's still, oh, I have stairs when you first walk in our door. There's a pool where it shouldn't be. Like there's all of these things. And I'm looking forward to the challenge of tweaking it to show people it's okay. There's nothing to be scared of. Because I know a lot of people are scared.
I love that.
I love that too. And I think it is, how do you work with what is? Before meeting you, I had met with someone several years ago who was a Feng Shui expert. And they told me several things about my home. And one which is that my address, because it's a 4, that, oh, can you move? And I was like, I cannot move. I actually love my house and it has such good energy. However, to your point, I also have stairs right when you walked in. And there were things that she did give me to improve the situation in general. And I do think that they've definitely helped. I feel even better in my home that I already loved, but I love it more. I think to your point, you have to work with, no, I'm not moving.
But there are legit Feng Shui practitioners out there that
would.
We're very scientific about it. Yeah.
For sure. And there's certain schools of Feng Shui that actually, and I don't want to talk anything down because it's all beautiful and well intended. There are certain schools that technically, if you followed all the rules, you would have to move every 7 years because of the way that the compass works and the way that the directions work and the world. I just can't do it. I think it's amazing for people that can. That's great. I'm not one of those people, especially after traveling so much of my life. I love home. I just want to stay in one place.
Can we move on to angels? I love talking about angels, but it's also another layer of the work that you do. How did angels come into your practice and how do you work with your clients and angels together?
Yeah. For whatever reason, I was being pushed and I wasn't moving. And so they were like, you need to kick in the, you know what? And this is just how it's going to roll. So I was actually in a Feng Shui session and the people at the time, they had a mattress and the mattress came from, which that's one Feng Shui, don't keep a mattress from a previous relationship. I've tried everything. And that's one thing that I'm like, I can't figure it out. If you can, let me know. But they had a mattress, they put it in the truck and it fell off the truck and they put it back in the truck, brought it there. And the minute I walked in their room, I knew that something was off with it. I kept hearing it. And that is the way that I kind of work too. So as I was leaning more into Feng Shui, more angel communication kept happening. And I was seeing spirit and I was seeing angels. And I was like, oh my gosh, because I grew up very Catholic. I went to a Catholic school and I had a priest one time tell me, don't ever tell people that they're seeing what you are seeing. We need to basically pray that out of you. Like, okay, I have a beautiful healing with that. But I was like, okay. So I was scared. I'm like, this is awful. What am I seeing? Is this demonic? So I was seeing all of these figures. So back to that session, the bed comes off the truck. I'm in the room. I'm like, look. So I just all of a sudden, there's what I would say is Archangel Michael Michael appears and basically says, I could hear it, but the mouth wasn't moving, but I could hear with my outer ear, even though his mouth wasn't moving. And I obviously knew that this was this voice that basically said, I was trying to get rid of the mattress. Like, this mattress, I was trying to get rid of the mattress. So I just said it. I'm like, if this is happening, I'm freaked out at this point. I'm seeing this figure. I'm just like, and they're looking at me like, is everything okay? So I just said it. I'm like, I really believe that Archangel Michael is trying to message you that we got to get rid of the mattress. And they were like, what do you mean? The mattress came off the truck. We were driving here and this awesome man named Michael pulled over and helped us to put it back on the truck. And we think Archangel Michael wants it to be. So one thing led to the next. We all end up laughing. They're like, okay, we got it. We're getting rid of the mattress. It was all good. After that, like their house, just amazing energy in the home. But that was one of the first experiences that I had in a client session that was it really threw me. And then I just saw this gentle smile on his face and it was like he dissipated. And I almost thinking back to that, I almost felt like a little pat on my back. It was very weird. I don't think I've ever actually said that out loud, but reliving that moment right now, I felt this little like a thank you, keep going. So then from there, I had other experiences where I would see, but that was the most vivid and the most shocking when I was like around other people. And I'm like, is nobody else seeing this? It was very shocking. And that opened up the doorway for more because then I knew that I could trust bigger. And then I would just listen to their guidance and created from there, helping people how to connect with their own angels, learning the language of breath. And then it was just an unfolding. And I will say that there was a crossover for me between tarot and angels and developing my relationship there, which helped me to create a whole program that I have around that. So there is a crossover and just learning all of the different signs. And when I was in St. Louis, I used to do these power hours where I would teach people the different presence of how they would see, hear, feel, look, smell, taste, because not everybody senses the same. So we would go into practice sessions. That was so fun. So yeah, for a long time, I was really scared to tell anybody because of what was told to me. That was like really bad. It was demonic. And I'm not saying anything about the bad about the church either. I still say I'm Catholic.
But I think it's for people to understand, and we love to talk about angels in general because they're not in a religious aspect in what we're talking about. It's something beyond that, and that the power and what they can bring to your life and the messages and guidance they can give you is really powerful. And I love in that story that you bring up in that first time that you really trusted it and said something, and how those people were like, wait, no, it fell off the truck and the guy's name was Michael. And basically what you're saying is, no, Michael was trying to get it off. And that to me also shows that translation. Like you got the message and then you had to listen and have that conversation with the client to then figure out what exactly was Michael trying to advise them.
Yeah. And I felt that as soon as the figure and that's what happens for me. They'll show up and then they'll just move. They'll just dissipate. It's okay. I got the message. Once I see the energy leave, I'm like, I got it. That was it. Because I have had situations where they don't leave and I'm like, okay, that's not it. I didn't get it right. And then I'll have to recenter because it can be easy sometimes to let the ego come into play, especially if you're live. I'm much better about it now. And have so learned to develop and just trust, but especially early on. So it was like, okay, and it really helped to build what I refer to as spirit vocabulary and understanding the language and what they're trying to say.
And to that point, was that the first time you allowed yourself to go from the earth plane, which is very much Feng Shui, sciencey, all the intuitive, you're using your intuition, to actually allowing spirit, soul guide to become part of what you were doing?
No, I think I would say in college, I had those experiences, but I would just push them away. And then when I went on cruise ships, I had a ton of really awesome experiences. I think because I was on water, I don't know, I just connected through there. And I had a really good girlfriend who would always go off and do fun things. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to go. And she's, you're doing your third eye business. She would, because I would go like Santa Catalina, there was this awesome little psychic. Anywhere we went, I just wanted to learn, but didn't tell anybody that except her. She was the only one that knew. But I did have a lot of experiences. But again, here I'm thinking, I'm bad. This is bad. And so I just drank. That's what I did to make it go away.
Yeah, I can see how that could happen.
I was like, nope, I'm just going to party.
But then at this stage of your life, you were ready to invite them into your experience.
Yeah, I think because I really understood I'm not bad and healing is possible and I do belong in my body and there is a place for me here and maybe this really can help. And if it can help me, then it can help other people. That's where I started to realize, okay, this is not bad. And I don't blame everything on the comment that was made to me about your bed. This is don't tell anybody. But man, when people tell us things with older people that we respect, that's why I'm so careful about what I say to people. The imprints, it can manifest things. I'm really mindful. I also had an astrologer. He called everything. He was a Vedic astrologer in my 20s. He called everything. He said I was going to be a flight attendant, work on cruise ships, do these things. He also said that I was going to get very sick. He said that I would be near death, all of these things. And I, like, up until, because he said that would happen when I was 40. So up until I was 40, I kept thinking I was going to die or have some NDE.
Oh,
It was the pandemic. It was the pandemic. And here, so then when COVID hit, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be one of those people in a ventilator. I knew better, but I am just so mindful about my words. I am so mindful.
That is really important. And the other part that I know Karen and I wanted to ask is how you incorporate, because you're such an expert in chakras and energy healing practices, and with all of your work, and you mentioned Reiki earlier in our conversation. So how do you incorporate that into your work?
So Reiki, I love, but it's also 3/4. I think that it's an opening and a starting point for so many people. I will tell you, and this is just my experience, I have never been in a Reiki session where I've said yes to Reiki and got just Reiki. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh my God. Yes. Karen and I talk about that all
the time.
True.
We keep saying it's the gateway.
And people end up creating their own experiences. That's happened for me in my own learning of it and so forth. It's what you make it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah. So then I worked on my own for a little bit, doing like the tarot, the angels, just doing readings, really loving it. And then I was connected eventually to my current mentor, who will be one of my forever teachers, Cindy Dale. And she just really changed the life of my practice and the trajectory. And I just have so much gratitude for everything that she's taught me, her research. She's on the cutting edge of science. She's amazing.
Yes. And we talked about her and her, I don't know if it's her first book, but one of her.
If anyone hasn't seen it, it can literally block your door open on a windy day. It's that thick of a book. It's so amazingly written. There's so much history and detail in it. It's such a great resource.
It is amazing. That's not her first book, but it's an amazing book. She just has written so many books, which now I'm so honored and humbled to be a part of those books now. We're doing a chakra series. So she really, I would say, I had the opportunity to take an in-person class with her. She had one of the only accredited energy healing classes in the States, but it doesn't happen anymore. So I got to do fly-in weekends with her, and it was so amazing and just really changed the trajectory of my path and just learning all of the subtle energy medicine work. And I never know where I'm going to go. I never know where I'm going to go in a session. I also have a little bit of medical intuition training with Tina Zion. So there's just all of these I never stop learning, but I never know where I'm going to go. I really don't. I just let spirit guide every session because spirit knows best. But I use a lot of her approach, which is the 4 pathways. So she has the imaginal realm, divine. I work a lot in divine, and she's really helped me to understand that we each are so strong in a chakra. And for me, it's the 8th, which is about a half an inch above the head. And the 8th, really, when you're strong in the 8th, it is really frustrating because you think that you're not good at anything, but really it's because you can work through any one of them. And that took me a long time to understand, but she really helped me to learn that and just helped me to open that up a lot. And so now I get to do that for other people and teach with her. It's just been such a fun journey. So it's a big part of what I do, but I couldn't even begin because there's so many things, whether you're talking about, there's the 5 axis, which is Judy Jacka work, what she helped me to understand, which was really important to me. That's like your energetic umbilical cord in the world. So that was a big part of just moving that and figuring out where it was. Mine wasn't on the earth. Mine was like on another planet. It was weird. So we had to move that. And then there's Kundalini energy. And there's like, it just goes.
I know, that's what I'm saying. And we know that you have and are continuing to study and learn and teach, and that you incorporate all of that into your work.
I was just going to say on a high level, because I think everybody understands the word chakra, but I don't think everybody really understands what we mean by chakras. Can you just give a super high level? So for somebody who's listening in, who may not understand what they are or their role in our body and our experience, what is the Gina view?
This is a great question, and one that I appreciate for so many reasons. Firstly, there's so much cultural appropriation that can happen with the whole system. And what I love about Cindy, I was really mindful about like where I was going to learn. learn. And she really did a good job, like you talk about that book, of doing all of the different research and all the different cultures and all the backgrounds. But when it comes down to it, I think we have to come into our feeling center. And we all know what it's like to have a broken heart. And you can literally feel that within your chest, but it's not your heart. To me, that's the chakra. That's the energy center. And it's how energy moves through your body. So when the energy is flowing aligned and proper, we have that high frequency. But there's things that anything can trip it up. Beliefs, emotions, other people. There's dealing with the dark and forces. So many things can trip it up. But it's so fascinating to me because my answer to this question is it's just like our home. And this is where I think there's a connection with the body and the home. And I actually created a course, Chakra Feng Shui, that helps to look at where your chakras live in the home. But if you can imagine from your front door that water comes into your home and it hits based on the different furniture and the different things that are in, but you want that to just be like a really nice flow, not like, it's the same thing with chakras. Like you want it to be a nice flow. You don't want it to move too fast. You don't want it to move too slow. And it's all energy, right? It's energy and everything's energy. So that's the way that I describe it at a very high level. It's these energy centers in your body that, yeah, you may not be able to pinpoint it or see it on an x-ray, but it's how we feel. It's when you have a broken heart or something just hits you in the gut, or you have that super divine all-knowing, or you can see with your third eye. So that's how I would say it from a higher perspective. And what they are to me is these energy centers that absolutely create these feeling centers, and just energy moves through your home. You want it to move through your body nicely and in flow. And that's working in those centers. We can do that. We can accomplish that.
And then let's talk about intuition. How do you help people start to tap into their intuition? Because we all are intuitive. It's just a matter of how much we're paying attention and then utilizing that in our lives.
Yeah, everybody's intuitive. It's just like anybody can run a race. Even if humans don't have legs, there's still a way, and some might like it and some might not. But I think what's so important is to understand that everyone receives differently. And so often I get clients and people and friends and whoever that they're like, I'm just not intuitive. But because everybody thinks that it's seeing. Everybody thinks that if you have a strong third eye, that you're not intuitive. I don't see that, or I don't see spirit, or I don't see, and it's, wait a minute, because there's so many different gifts that are associated with each of the different chakras. So there's a lot of topics here. This is so layered. I could talk about this literally for 3 hours. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I get excited. For one, you have to have a high frequency. Frequency is everything. So if you don't have a high frequency, right, now we're talking about something a little bit different, but I think everybody's probably familiar with the energy centers. I love Power versus Force. I think that's a really great book. The Map of Consciousness by David Hawkins. You could Google that. There's a little chart and it'll give you the frequency, and it's a beautiful color chart that you can look at with different numbers. For somebody that's super sad or they're depressed, let's say, often I see people that lose a loved one and then they're really sad and they just want to connect. How? You're sad. Your frequency is low. It's dense. It doesn't mean that you can't, but we have to raise your frequency. You also have to work on your nervous system. I see too much people's nervous systems are so tied up, or there's trauma. And that's what it was for me. And then you have these denser experiences where I had an experience, you guys, where my bed one night, because of this thing that was like an entity, shifted to the center of my bedroom and it shook. And there was like a loud hammer that sounded like it hit the metal bed. I have been there, I think, to be able to speak to all the ups and downs, but it's frequency. And so when I was at a lower frequency, which was like after divorce, that was the experience that I was getting. So you have to be mindful of frequency and be mindful of your nervous system. Those are two really important things. And unprocessed stress. How are we going to really get in touch with our intuition? So there's those things. I think breath work's great. There's so many things we can do. And I say you have to pay attention to your frequency in mind, body, spirit, and home, because it matters. So once you do those things, then let's figure out, how do the answers come? How do the answers come? And I think that really, of all of the things I do, that is my zone of genius. I help people to get their own answers so they can move out of their past and go into their future. Like yesterday, let's move. That's really my zone of genius when it comes down to it, embodying who they were born to be. So understanding, maybe you do see, but you could also know, you could smell, you could taste, you could feel. Knowing happens here too. There's so many ways that answers come in. It's not just seeing. And then it's building a spirit vocabulary for what those whispers mean, and then taking action on what you're getting And if you don't get it right the first time, trying something else and seeing if you progress. And that's why I say I really do pride myself in being able to help people get there in half the time that it took me. Because I'm like, oh, I know this process. Stop. Don't worry about that. Don't stop. Let's just do it and just trust me and see what happens. Like just this one little step and then gain the momentum. So I think that this is such a loaded topic for me. I love it. I love activating intuition in people for the purpose of moving forward, but there's so many layers that are involved. And I think it starts with raising your frequency, really working with your nervous system and being willing to understand who knows how you receive messages. Let's figure it out. You might see, hear, feel, know, smell, taste, dream.
When it comes to your nervous system, how would you recommend someone start to improve their nervous system? Is it through meditation? Is it through sound frequency? Or what would you suggest?
I'm a gadget person. I love biohacking. I think it's fun. I don't go off the deep end, but I do wear an Oura ring. I think it really helps me. And I also have an HRB monitor, heart rate variability, which people say, mine's low, whatever. I think HRB is a really good measurement that helps you tell where your nervous system is. And for people who are serious about opening their intuition, I think monitoring your heart rate variability, which is the space in between heart rates, really tells you where you are. And I have had days, you guys, where I monitor it every day. And if my HRB is low, I will call a client. It does not happen often because I absolutely take care of my body, my home, myself, so that I can stay in high integrity for my clients. But once in a blue moon, once in a while, it'll happen. And I will make that call and say, I can't, we have to reschedule you. And I'll reschedule you as soon as I can. But my body's not there right now. My body's not there today. That's not an integrity. So that's how I monitor it. In terms of what to do, there's lots of really easy resets. Do you guys want to just do one really quick? One of my favorites?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is one of my favorites that I really love. So firstly, do this and check your neck. Just pay attention to how your neck feels because the vagus nerve runs down the side. So just notice how you feel.
So we're moving our head from side to side for those that are listening.
Yeah, ear to shoulder, side to side. And then take your hands and put your hands behind your head and open up your elbows. And then you're going to keep your head straight, but look 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock only with your eyes. So 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock only with your eyes, and then take deep breaths or until you yawn and in through the nose, out through the mouth. And then look straight and then go the other way, 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock. And 3 more breaths or until you yawn. And then look straight and then bring your arms down and then do that again. And notice if you can go a little further or if it's a little looser.
Oh my God. Wow.
It's easy.
That is a really good one.
It's a good one. Yeah, that one's really easy. Shout out to Denise Plaisance because she turned me on to that one. She is a holistic chiropractor. You could do ear pulling. There's one with your thumb where you can tap for 30 seconds and then squeeze for 30 seconds. I'm burping somebody. That must help. That must be good for someone. I love gua sha for many reasons because it helps your skin. Again, I love beauty. I don't want wrinkles if I don't have to have them, but gua sha really helps your skin. It's also really good for the vagus nerve. It's great for the nervous system. I love brain tap. I don't know. Again, I'm a biohack. I like these little machines. Patrick Porter, he's done a ton of research and he has this little headset with these eye things. So I do that if that's great for the nervous system. What's not good is not taking care of your body, letting yourself get dehydrated, pushing yourself when it comes to exercise and cutting calories and stressing and worrying. That's not good. Little hacks, and especially worrying, because if you worry, and I would say that that's the biggest thing with intuition, is it egoic or is it intuition? And if our nervous system is all tied up, we can only really be in egoic thinking. And then the worry just directs and commands what is happening. And you need your body.
Yeah.
You are intuition. It's intuiting information. So you need your body. So if your body's, it's just not going to work. So really important. I have a daily routine that I do every day to just manage that. And I mix it up, but I'm always writing, journaling, nervous system work, Pilates, yoga. I have a vibe plate. I love the vibration plate. Yeah. And I monitor my HRV to know what works, and no bodies are the same. But that is really important for intuition building.
HRV stand for?
Heart rate variability. So it's the space between the heartbeats. And it's really interesting. Moving back, it was really fascinating. So going back a minute to chakras, every chakra activates at different ages. And I just turned 43. And so I just started to activate chakra 11, and I was just completing chakra 42. 2. And we moved in like on my 43rd birthday, the day before. So it's really fascinating because I was activating the chakra at the 10th chakra, which is like your place on this earth. My heart rate variability had never been so high. I was so full of joy moving back to my home state, and I was exhausted. We were moving, we drove cross country. I was exhausted, but my heart rate variability, sky high, which just goes to show the joy, I think, the contentment that I felt being back in my home state, close to family again. It's all of these things that when we just relax and allow for the joy of life, the love of life.
Yeah, for people listening like me who are thinking that there's a science, I was thinking about it from a scientific perspective, but you're clearly using it in your day to day just to really monitor how you're physically doing, which I think is really smart because, and again, how many of us really stop to do that on a daily basis? We may go for a run, we may meditate for a little bit, but I don't think that we're really taking the time to really monitor.
When we talk about mind, body, spirit, heart, all of it, gut, it's all of it. When we talk about
true. It's so true. And even with Karen meditating, I don't know about you guys, but I don't love to meditate. Sometimes I get stressed out. Like I'm like, I don't have time to do this. I do love the brain tap and I like breath work and but honestly, I have been in situations where my HRV will drop when I'm meditating because I think I just don't want to be doing it. So it's like we should on ourselves all of these things. And why are we even doing it? So I love monitoring it because it actually will tell you minute by minute, like what's working and what's not. Why are we doing the things that we do? And like food, I think it's so important in terms of building intuition.
Absolutely. And then, okay, we also know that you love numerology.
I do.
So what is that? And how is that incorporated into your work as another tool in your toolbox?
Yeah, I do. I love it. And I will say I teach a numerology class. It's co-taught with Jo, who's in Australia. And she really is all about charting your birth and your name and your birthday. So she brings that component. I more bring in the class we teach is numerology for intuitives. So I bring in the energetics of numbers and I'm going from that angle. Not that I don't appreciate the charting, but I really am all about like the energetics and the visuals of numbers. So I work with a lot of business owners because what happens is people will come to me. They're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, great, let's figure it out. Let's move you into your future. And then they're like, okay, great. This is what I want to do. Now I need to build a business. I need to do this. And I also do copywriting so that it just naturally is this unfolding. And so I'll help people with naming their businesses. And people always think that I named my business Gina Nicole because it's my first middle name, but that's not why I named it Gina Nicole. I did because in numerology, it's an 8, which is all about abundance, not just in money, but just abundance in helping. And 8 is all seeing. When you turn an 8 on its side, it looks like goggles, it's eyes, it's all seeing and help people to see, help people give sight to what they were really born to do, to embody who they are. So there's all of these different numbers that have various energetics. And I love to just educate people about their choices with that because we can actually be bringing in the energy of where we are and it's not helping us get to where we're going. So I've had clients change names.
Wow.
That's easier than moving. That's easier than changing than moving. So I get that.
And if people are smart, I know that many people think about numerology before they name their child. Can you just explain, so for people who don't know, because numerology has been around as long as astrology has, and has its own role, I think, that also enhances astrology in many ways. But what do we really mean by that? It's numbers associated with letters, correct? And added up together. Can you just like really high level explain how that works?
Yeah. So like A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. So A, B, C, the whole alphabet is associated with a number. And then let's say, for example, you do a whole name and you get the numeric value of a name. And then every number is associated with an energetic resonance. But also I say, look at it visually. If you look at the number 11, it's channeled information, but it's also a doorway. If you look at the number 2, it's half of a heart. And so when you put them back to back, it's a whole heart, the top of a 2 or 2 swans. Look at a number 3, you turn it on its side and it's ovaries. And that is about giving birth and joy and creating. And I just think it's important to look at not only, yes, the number 3 is associated traditionally with creativity, but if we visually look at it, it brings in like this whole other regimen of just resonance science that we can learn from. And there's, I don't want to say positive and negative, but maybe more, there's dense associations and lighter, higher frequency associations because everything's frequency. And yeah, it just is a gift that keeps giving because it gives us so much hope and helps us to set further declaration of what we are standing in, what we want, or what we're, I don't want to say manifesting, but that's the only word that's coming to me, like declaring this is what I'm going for. It's another tool. So then I use that often in Feng Shui as well for house numbers. And I'm like, okay, so you're in a one house and you want to be in a relationship that's not ideal. Let's change the energy of it. I don't think you have to move. We can shift it. I'm going to help you shift it. So yeah, it's fun and it does work.
Totally.
Think about how this also applies when you're getting married and taking on another name, or your wedding day when you're getting married. If you're going to be induced when you have your baby, do you want to maybe just take a minute and think about where your baby's being born and all of what you're going to name that child? And is it, for numerology, is it the first, middle, and last name?
It is. Yeah. And it's so funny that you're mentioning this. I feel like it's affirmation for me because when I got married again and taking my husband's name, I really wasn't going to. I love my maiden name. I wasn't going to. And he was like, oh, like he was crushed. And I was like, okay, it's not that big of a deal. But now I'm like, ugh, I wish I would have at least hyphenated because it's such better numerology. And I am like, I asked him, I'm like, is it okay if I go back to like hyphenating? And we're a total blended. We have an adopted son who wanted to keep his name. And so I'm like, who cares? Are you really going to? And he's, no, it's fine. But when we were getting married, he was like, man, if you didn't take my name, he's so traditional. It's very sweet. But like now I think I want to go back and hyphenate with my maiden name.
And hyphen makes a difference.
Well, because then, so my full name is Gina Nicole Ballard. So I just want it to be Rossi Ballard. I want to just add my maiden name back in there because it actually is a 3, like it brings more joy. It's a 3. And yeah, why would I not want to bring more joy versus where it is, which is just more of that spiritual, which is, I don't feel that. I definitely live in the higher frequency of the numerology of my name right now, just very spiritual path, but why not bring more joy? I don't know. Yeah, make life a little more fun because this is my every single day, all of the time. It's what, I mean, even my husband and I are foster parents and even the kids that work, they come in and they're like seeing angels and seeing things. I'm never off. That's how I feel about my life. And it's, yeah, I want more of which I love. Don't get me wrong. I love helping kids. I'm like, yeah, let's bring in more joy, more fun as we move into this next chapter. And I'm going to hyphenate again and see what happens.
But again, that's walking the walk. To me, that for you energetically, you feel better about it.
Yeah. But we were so fortunate you gave us each a reading together, which was so much fun. So for people who are listening, such wisdom, knowledge, all of these tools that you have to use when you work with someone. Can you just generally talk about what a session is like with you and how you work with someone when they come to you?
Yeah, I like to think that it's just a conversation. I like to keep it very light. I do, as you ladies both know, I make it a point. So the morning of my day, I'll sit for clients and I do a lot of energy work the morning of. So that way I'm showing up to the session. I already have done some energy work. Some of my clients that work with me monthly, they'll know. They'll sometimes even text me and be like, I know what you just did, because they feel it. They become really sensitive to it. And for a new person, from the time that they book, I'll start getting messaging. So I keep a little running note like in their file in the doc. So I'll sit and do a lot of the energy work in the morning. And then when I show up to the call, I have an idea of what wants to come through. I will say, I hate to say 10 out of 10, but I'm going to say like 9.5 out of 10 times what ends up coming up. People do, they're like, yeah, no, that's what I want to talk about. I feel like spirit knows what the focus needs to be. I don't really have people, I really don't, never say never, but I don't have people say, oh no, I wanted to talk to you about something different. So I show up to the call with, this is what happened. This is what we cleared, healed, moved, shifted. This is what didn't leave. These are the challenges. This is the keynote. This is where I worked. That usually takes about, 5 to 10 minutes. If they have questions, we'll go from there. And then usually from there, it's like something that came up they want to expand on. So it looks like a conversation. I'm also running energy, but people don't really know that. And then I'll give them like follow-up notes. But I really love to just see people move forward. I tend to attract people that are ready for the next phase, or they really want to step forward, even if they're a little scared. So there's always some sort of action. There's always some sort of task or action. It's like after we spoke, we It doesn't matter what it is. It's something to open up the energy moving forward that has to do with embodying who they were born to be.
What I loved is that there was such variety. We had angels and guides come through. We had deceased loved ones come through. Then we had your inner wisdom, intuitive wisdom come through, just sensing energetically where we were and what we were feeling. And then there was some just real tangible suggestions, feedback about how to move forward. So that was just like 15 minutes apiece, I think we got. It was amazing.
Well, and whatever energy healing work was done, in addition, I know I woke up I felt incredible.
I love that. That's the goal.
It was like I was getting for me, and I do hear and see energy and wisdom and messages and so forth. And I woke up at 4 a.m. with messages that were super clear. And I just felt like I had been cleaned out.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it's different because sometimes the clearing's very small, or sometimes they don't clear. Like sometimes it's like, nope, you're good where you are. Or I'll work with the chakras have front side, back side. So if I'm working on the back side, sometimes people really can't tell. But there's always something, even if somebody doesn't know, but I never worry about it. I always tell people like, it doesn't hurt my feelings if it doesn't resonate. And then, people will circle back. And I have mediumship training, but I will say that I have learned when loved ones in heaven come in, I will work through my helpers and my team and my angels and guides. So that, there is that I have a client that I've helped. She's amazing. She's developed her gift of being a telekinetic where she can hold something of a loved one. So I don't operate in those terms of doing mediumship, but if a loved one does step up, then we'll just see. I just let it unfold.
And it seems to us that may be a typical reading, which isn't so typical, but that there's a lot of coaching that you can do if someone wants that, if someone's really looking to transform both their life and their home, which are connected. You can work with them over a series of sessions and months and however. And I mean, you offer so much in terms of courses and programming. No, I can't say enough because I'm actually personally going to be looking at your courses because you give people the tools to teach themselves how to do this from your own learning. And what a gift that is to people. We just touched the surface here today on some of the things.
What we always love to say is back to where you started, where you said that our challenge feeds our future. It's because you've done all of this work yourself personally and have learned all of these modalities that whenever someone sits in front of you, you're able to access whatever it is that they need for that given reading. And I think that's what's so incredible. So it's like what Robin was saying, it's not a one size fits all. It's not to say that getting a deep dive astrology reading isn't amazing or an energy healing isn't fantastic, but there's something about, I think, particularly if you're a newer seeker, to be able to come and sit with you, Gina, because there are so many aspects of the person that you can see and help. And so regardless, and sometimes I'm sure people come and they don't even know quite why they're there. They have senses of what they're looking for, but they're not really sure. Like it's really the perfect experience to be able to open yourself up to all the potentiality of everything that's energetically within you, chakra-wise, to your angels and guides, to your numerology and your name. There's so many aspects to what you give. So thank you. Both of us sincerely got so much out of that experience and know that there's so much more that you do and can share.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to just sit with you, ladies. It was beautiful to do.
Thank you for sharing so much today. And thank you for teaching. And thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your own story and your own feelings about things. And for just, as Karen was saying, for doing all that you do. We are so grateful to be connected and for now others to find you and everything that you're offering.
Oh, thank you, ladies. Yeah, I feel the same. I think that what you're doing it's so important, especially in such a world of noise, to help people find what's magnetizing to them that is of integrity and beauty and all of the things that I know that you all are about. So thank you for doing what you do.
Let's raise the vibration of this world together. That's the goal.
I'm in.
Thank you. And so you can find out more about working with Gina and all of her programs and offerings at ginanicole.net. You can also follow her on Instagram at Gina_Nicole_B. Thank you.
Thank you.